Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. By-election called for Northeast St. Anne. St. James vendor caught urinating in a bottle outside Charles Gordon Market to be prosecuted. And later in sports, Jamaican teams return from World Under-20 Championships. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced that a by-election will be held in Northeast St. Anne on September 30. The announcement comes hours after the resignation of Marsha Smith on Tuesday. Matthew Samuda will be representing the Jamaica Labour Party in the constituency. Our reporter Kalisha Williams was at this morning's post-cabinet press briefing where the announcement was made.
So the big news coming out of today's post-cabinet press briefing is that a by-election is coming for Northeast St. Anne. Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced that the nomination day will be on September 11 and the election will be held on September 30. Now, Member of Parliament for the constituency, Marsha Smith, resigned yesterday. And for many people, it did not come as a surprise because there have been several protests in the constituency with the residents calling for her to step down. Now, Matthew Samuda will take her place in the constituency and he resigned from the Senate on Monday. There have also been questions about South Trelawney. If you remember, the seat has been vacant for some time now following the resignation of Marissa Dalrymple Philibert earlier this year. So we asked Prime Minister Andrew Holness to respond.
We are at a stage where we are now ready to do all the by-elections and all of them will be done. It is just that this one is going to be done first, but all the by-elections will be done.
Can you give us a time frame as to when that will happen?
As they come due, they will be done. And I would say within months.
Also coming out of the press conference, Transport Minister Darrell Voss said more buses are coming for the Corbett area. Education Minister Favour Williams also provided an update on schools since the new academic year. She said Monroe College, that was badly affected by Hurricane Beryl, will reopen on September 9. There was some doubt that the school would reopen at all this month due to the extent of the damage. Now, I'll have more on these stories coming out of Post Cab in primetime news this evening at 7.
Thank you, Kalisha. Now to more stories on the political scene. Opposition spokesman on finance, Gillian Robinson, says the rate of economic growth has been slow and declining. Speaking at an East Central St. Andrew constituency conference on Sunday, he said the BOJ projected economic growth will decline this quarter because of Hurricane Beryl, but he reasoned this has been the case even before the hurricane.
For the last 9 quarters, for the last fiscal year, we missed our revenue targets. Missed it. And we're going to miss them again this year. That is what the incoming going to have to do. The incoming going to have to deal with the $45 billion that the current minister said he's going to collect from something called securitization of receivables. Receivables are assets that people owe the government money, whether in licenses or fees that they have to pay.
And opposition spokesman of Energy and Mining, Philip Paulwell, says that if the PNP forms the next government, they are going to make big changes in the energy sector. Mr. Paulwell also commented on the rumors that oil was found in Jamaica.
We are not going to go to drill until the PNP is returned to power. So I want you to put down that video and hold it. We don't find oil yet. But God is good, and Jamaica will, I believe, eventually be able to discover oil when the time is right. And that time will be right when the PNP is back in power.
A positive shift in perspective from patients in public hospitals can be expected as the Health Ministry has started upskilling head cooks in the different health authorities. The training session took place recently at the Cardiff Hotel and Spa in St. Anne. The details in this report.
2 fried dumplings and 2 pieces of what appears to be tin mackerel tossed to the side of a white lunchbox. In another box, we see half of a tomato slice in 3 pieces with bread. Another box, a bit more colorful than the others, shows baked beans, a dumpling, and potatoes. It's meals like these that have heightened frustration for patients admitted to public hospitals across the island. They complain that the meals are tasteless and simply hard to eat. But this will all change soon, according to the Health Ministry. Reports coming out of the health sector indicate that less than 70% of head cooks in public hospitals have certification below Level 2 of the Heart NSTA Trust Commercial Food Preparation Program. It is why this training session is important. As the director of the Ministry of Health's Nutrition Unit says, it will help cooks to prepare healthier and more presentable meals for patients.
The Jamaican population, we eat with our eyes, and so to address the concerns that some patients may have, we're building the cook's capacity to prepare meals in a way that is creative, it's attractive, along with being tasty while it is healthy, and will help them to recover.
She added that further collaborations will be made with the Heart NSTA Trust to upskill other hospital cooks.
This training is geared specifically at head cooks because they have that management function in the hospitals. But following up from this, some of these cooks, along with other cooks in hospital, will participate in the Heart training to become certified.
The manager for the nutrition unit at the Ministry of Health says she's hoping that instead of patients refusing hospital food, they will be more attracted to it.
All the meals that are being produced by our departments of dietetics throughout the island will have the same standard in terms of nutrition, in terms of the taste, in terms of the physical, the visibility, the appeal. So it will, in essence, improve all the meals that are coming out of our hospitals. So persons will probably want to come to hospital to ensure that they're getting these tasty, delicious, visually appealing meals.
And Corporate Wellness Chief for the Ministry of Health, Randy Anderson, who played a key role in the training session, shared that healthy juices can come from the country's local produce.
As part of this training session, I wanted to showcase to not just team members amongst themselves, but also to our Jamaican population that we can make beautiful, delicious, creative, nutritious drinks from our local produce.
Raquel Porter, TVJ News.
A St. James vendor who went viral after she was caught urinating in a bottle while operating at her stall outside the Charles Gordon Market will be prosecuted. That's according to the parish's medical officer for health, Dr. Francine Phillips-Kelly. Dr. Phillips-Kelly made the announcement during a press conference Tuesday afternoon. The details in this report.
Close to a year after a disturbing incident at Crab Circle in St. Andrew, customers are left reeling again as another incident has repeated another insanitary act. The vendor, whose identity has not been disclosed, is said to have been operating without a license.
Because of the breaches that we have found, she is liable for prosecution, and that we'll be doing this week.
Dr. Phillips-Kelly says the woman was predominantly selling ground provisions. She has also been banned from plying her trade. Meanwhile, Mayor of Montego Bay Richard Vernon says the woman was also operating outside of the permitted vending area without a license.
That is why we are in the process of improving the market facility so that we can facilitate more vendors within the space. Based on what we have on record now, the number of vendors is approximately 800, and that is what we were looking at in terms of space within the market facility to facilitate them.
He, however, admits that there is a space issue at the facility, especially on the weekend, that they are working to address. Carrie-Ann Simpson, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Another fire has gutted shops at the Old Shoes Market Arcade in St. James. 3 shops were damaged by the blaze. Residents reported noticing fire in the shop sometime after 1 Wednesday morning and alerted the owners. Units from the Barnett Street Fire Station responded and managed to contain and then extinguish the fire. Appliances, including several refrigerators as well as clothes, were destroyed in the shops. Investigations are ongoing, but the authorities told our news center it could have resulted from an electrical issue. Losses are estimated in the millions. One vendor says he so far has calculated up to $2 million in losses, and he is frustrated with the recurring issue.
Fire come here and discharge things. The last time I went just right next door to me there, so this time I'm right next door again. You see me, I say, always a damn, always a lose.
This other vendor is hoping that they will get a chance to start over again.
Oh, yeah, that his shop is on fire. And come down and see everything gone.
So you didn't manage to say nothing?
Nothing.
Last October, over 54 shops were burnt out by a fire at the same facility. Detectives attached to the Manchester Police Division are investigating the circumstances surrounding a double murder in the Lower Albion community in the parish. The deceased have been identified as 29-year-old Kalu Stoltz, otherwise called Rasta, a merchandiser from the community, and 44-year-old Henry Brown, otherwise called Iceman, a laborer of the nearby district of Barnstable, Mayday. A third man was injured in the attack. Reports are that around 9:20 Wednesday night, a man entered a bar in the community and purchased a cigarette. Moments later, a masked man in a hooded jacket entered the bar and opened fire on the men. All three were taken to hospital where Stoltz and Brown were pronounced dead. Constable for the Knockpatrick Division, Carl Smith, has expressed shock at what he terms the senseless killings.
It's never a good thing for any community. It instills fear in the community, a normally quiet community, and it instills fear in the community. And we are encouraging anybody who has anything to do with it, who know anything, to just try and assist the police in bringing whoever is responsible to this to a quick justice. We need to act more as a community. Somebody must know something.
And just a correction, the incident happened Tuesday night at 9:20. Now, the councillor says the police will have his support if they decide to impose an emergency security measure to help reduce acts of criminality in the space. And it's time for the Business Minute.
The government approved the divestment of state-owned land valued at $314 million to the private sector in 2023. The Economic and Social Survey published by the Planning Institute of Jamaica shows that the approved divestment applications were mostly related to residential and agricultural lands. 108 new applications were submitted to the Land Divestment Advisory Committee for review. Of the total 83 parcels set for approval, valued at $918.9 million, 68 were recommended to the minister with responsibility for land for approval. The ESSJ says 48 proposals for sale were received, while 20 were for lease. The remaining applications were either deferred, refused, or withdrawn. 6 major credit rating organizations are facing fines by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission over their failure to keep electronic records of communications. The fines vary by firm but total $49 million. Moody's Investor Services and S&P Global Ratings got slapped with the heftiest civil penalties, $20 million each. Fitch Ratings was fined $8 million. AM Best Rating Services was fined $1 million. HR Ratings de Mexico was fined $250,000, and Demotech was fined $100,000. All the firms admitted to the facts in the SEC orders and agreed to pay the fines. 4 of the firms must also hire a compliance consultant. For the Business Minute, I'm Amoy Harriet.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
In this evening's health report, we look at stroke.
The key strategy of the university at this time is to develop what we call a stroke program, where we can become a stroke center, which is a specialist center for taking care of patients with stroke. That means the rapid diagnosis, triage, and treatment of patients. And the treatment includes giving the thrombolytic clot-busting drugs, as well as doing the mechanical thrombectomy, where we use a stent to grab the clot and remove it.
That's the health report in Primetime News at 7. And now for today's healthy living tip. Control high blood pressure, limit sodium intake, manage stress, and get enough sleep.
Time now for the top regional and international stories.
In the region, investigators in Guyana are still trying to piece together the circumstances which led to a massive cocaine bust on the weekend. One person was taken into custody in connection with the find. His identity, including his nationality, has not been made public. Questions remain about where the drug originated, how exactly it was to be transported to its final destination, and how long the network has been in place. A joint operation involving the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, Customs Anti-Narcotic Unit, and the Guyana Defense Force resulted in a 4,400 kilogram cocaine bust at Matthews Ridge, Region 1, said to be the largest in the history of Guyana. On the international scene, the Grenfell Tower fire in the United Kingdom that killed 72 people was the result of, quote, dishonest companies, weak government, and a lack of strategy by the fire service. Now that's according to a scathing report. The report says a cladding product manufacturer deliberately concealed fire risks, while coalition and conservative governments ignored, delayed, or disregarded concerns. Inquiry Chair Martin Morbig says all deaths were avoidable. Now, Prime Minister Keir Starmer pledged that the government will work to prevent similar tragedies occurring in the future. Prosecutors say they will decide on possible charges by the end of next year. And a Russian drone and missile attack early on Wednesday killed 7 people, including 4 members of the same family, in the western Ukrainian city of Lviv. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Amoy Harriet.
Thanks, Amoy. We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report.